Stephen, you were talking a little bit about your experience in Hawaii, in shooting in Hawaii, and you showed me these very unlikely photographs from a helicopter, an aerial. How did you come about shooting aerials?
Yeah, actually the pilot had asked if we wanted the doors on or off, and this is the first time I was in a helicopter. So I was like, maybe let's leave them on. The guy was like one of these, I don't know, military, sort of like, I'm gonna do fancy stuff and I'm gonna give you the real tour of Hawaii, you know, and so there was a waterfall that you can kind of see way in the distance, and we're getting closer and closer and closer, and then basically we're so close that the water is spraying onto the windshield.
It's an amazing experience when you're above the world with a camera. This, I worked with Iggy. I thought this was a different experience for you, Peter. How's that work for you in terms of being, you know, on a looser, more journalistic side?
Well, I shot this a few years ago where it was really atypical to go journalistic, and it's something I do more now and really enjoy, because sometimes the loss of control is what's great about it. And we hopped into his car. I'm not so good with classic cars, but it was convertible and it was about the size of 3 cars. And my assistant was in the back with just a flash on a stick. And we just kind of cruised down the streets of little Havana. Nobody knows or cares who he is, you know, out there. So we were just able to cruise down the street and
just you and Iggy Pop hanging out in little Havana.
Me and Iggy, yeah, totally. So it was a blast.
Stephen, tell me a little bit about, we were speaking earlier and you were explaining your affinity for a Rolei, which I have 2.
Using a Rolei was my favorite camera by far, because I felt like the subjects were really off. They weren't on guard, you know? And I think that as soon as you go like this, right, and you're looking at someone, there's like another layer there where I'm being photographed. Whereas when, you know, with the Rolei, it was just sort of here, and you're just having that conversation, like you said, and it's just kind of like, it could be in those off moments where you're, you know, they're not aware that they're even being photographed, but it's like perfect, and what else? Yeah. You know,
and you don't remove yourself from the experience of being a photographer. You just, it could be a quick, you know, adjustment down below, but basically it's kind of what you were talking about too, Peter. Your focus is still always present with the subject.
Yeah, and now, I mean, most of my pictures are just shot with my phone, because it's just, but for the same reason, you know, you can kind of get in there and it's just sort of like have that conversation, and just, you know, half of them are not going to come out or whatever, but the ones that do, again, you're able to kind of capture that, you know.
Interesting. This was a shoot for Wired of Jimmy Fallon, and which is, it's a great shoot.
We worked with a great prop stylist, Sean Patrick Anderson, who helped us put this robot together from scratch. You know, it's all sorts of mannequins cut up and car parts and all sorts of things. The
John and Yoko Annie reference seems like a real Jimmy Fallon idea. Was that yours or his?
That was our idea, actually. Him in bed with the robot was his idea, actually, and this was kind of our idea. And initially, I was really set on him playing the John part instead of the Yoko part. And then they nixed it, and then in hindsight, it was probably better this way.
Stephen, you know, you have a ubiquitous world in stores, and, you know, lots and lots of collaborations with different companies and designers. Tell me a little bit about how that works for you in terms of your world.
I mean, for me, I guess I always want to find someone that can do something that we feel like we want to get better at that. You know, like there's certain companies that are just great at what they do, and, you know, we can do it, but to partner with them, you know, so Nike, obviously, you know, for footwear was a great one, and we did the same thing with Levi's Dockers. for, you know, men's pants, and then I collaborated with Uniqlo to do a collection, and that was kind of fun too, because I got to meet Mr. Yanai is the chairman of Uniqlo, and he walked in the room and everyone was just like, it was like a general came in, you know, and everyone was quiet, and then he laughed and he says, I like it. You know why I like it? Because you think like a retailer. He's like, we're gonna sell a lot of these, you know, and was
You spoke his
nice.
language.
I spoke his language, yeah.
Yeah. I should tell you that Peter, I don't think he did on purpose, is wearing a Lucky shirt.
Yeah, well, I was in Venice a few years ago and stumbled upon your store, and I was just trying on shirts. And as someone who, especially growing up in Texas, like everything was just weirdly sized on me, I tried on this one shirt and looked in the mirror, and it was like, today, sir, you are a handsome man. So I was pumped about it, and I bought it. And then so whenever I had like meetings, I'd put on my shirt and feel like kind of good about myself, and then it just kind of became my lucky shirt eventually.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that story.
Yeah, no,
it's like a little
awesome.
commercial or something.
That roof was actually dangerous looking, and I can't believe like a big Hollywood director would agree to stand on this ledge.
And then I hear this woman on the megaphone, wait, stop. And she's like, you could have been shot.
I was at the Belmont Stakes somehow, like at the 8th race, which is the main one, and I didn't know there was a 9th race. So I was crossing over, I heard a simultaneous roar of the crowd and then horses coming.